Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Andrew Barber with Drew Shipley here, Hawk's Eye View, Season 3. We're starting off Season 3 with our postseason wrap-up for football and coming off a little bit of a holiday break. How were your holidays, Drew? I know they were eventful.
They were very eventful. We are starting to make the place a home here in Overland Park. That's where we're at now. So we're just about 3 hours from the Des Moines area now, so it's nice to be closer to home. I don't know if you saw the big snowstorm that came through Kansas, Missouri, all the way to the East Coast, but we dealt with that about 4 or 5 hours after we got the truck unloaded and returned and everything like that. So we hit the grocery store and hunkered down for a few days, Andrew. And I tell you what, like, we take some things for granted as renters of like apartment buildings, you know, like when you're talking about snow removal, talking about like cutting the grass, stuff like that. Obviously not cutting the grass in a foot of snow out here, but just an example of things that we're going to have to do here at the house. And now that we have a home, so it's exciting. The home's getting put together pretty nicely. Jenny is kicking ass and taking names. So things are great, man. Glad to be back in the Midwest and started my job on Monday and have a couple days off here to take care of some personal business and then stuff like that. So it's a good time.
Good. I'm glad you're getting settled. Yeah, for home ownership, the joys of home ownership. Like early on, you feel really good about doing snow removal and mowing the lawn and all that kind of stuff. You feel great about all of it. Then as time wears on, you're like, really? I signed up for however many years of this? Yikes.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't have to do it all yourself, you know. When you're
Jenny loves it, actually. She's is cooking dinner here in the kitchen. It has some personal pride into it, right? So like the homes around here, and to notice the sidewalks around here in Overland Park in our neighborhood not being cleared is kind of a weird concept to me. Like we're the only ones that are like completely cleared on the sidewalk front.
They don't have a law there?
They may not.
It's not like West Des Moines.
It's not like West Des Moines.
Yeah. I think every city in Iowa has that law because that was a thing growing up in Pella too.
Yeah, like you gotta remove within 24 hours of snowfall or something like that. You know, like
something like that.
Different city ordinances. But you know what? Our sidewalk's clean, our driveway's clean, and we get some personal pride and some sweat equity, if you will, in that big snowstorm. We got 11 inches down here, so it was pretty They called it not just a storm for like the decade, like a storm of the decades, plural. Like this is not normal to get a foot of snow in one snowfall, but it happened. No. It happened. But
I learned this today. My current manager, lives in Kansas, Manhattan, Kansas.
Oh, okay.
But I learned that they name their snowplows in Kansas.
Oh.
So you can look up and see exactly which snowplow came by and did your street.
I'll be damned. I'll have to look into that. Because I tell you what, there's a lot of them, Andrew. I tell you what, the biggest thing that's kind of gotten on our nerves here in the last couple of days is, Jonathan was supposed to go to school, his new school, for the first time on Monday, returning from winter break, and it's been canceled all week up to this point. So it's time to get his ass in school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they don't. Is it because like in Iowa, we'd get like 1 day out of this, maybe 2.
What I think it is, Andrew, is Overland Park and Shawnee are so spread out, and it's such a large area in school district that like some of the side streets are still barely touched. After like we're on day 4 of removal now, and some of these side streets are still pretty rough. Not only that, but we've had the Arctic blast too. So like, I think I went to work this morning. It was 8. So it's not like there's been a whole lot of melting going on the streets. The main avenues are pretty clear at this point. Some of the side like turn lanes and whatnot are still kind of blocked, and I don't know if they're going to do anything about that or just let it play out. But it was a lot of snow, and it's a big area, so I wouldn't expect another snow day tomorrow. There shouldn't be. But we'll see. Getting used to our new normal here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a perfect segue into a new normal for the Iowa Hawkeyes, which is good quarterback play? ? Mark Gronowski coming up from the FCS.
I'm glad that you're starting off with this, Andrew, because I have thoughts, but I will let you lead into it.
Okay. All right. Well, Iowa acquired via transfer portal Mark Gronowski. Everything that I know about his decision was Iowa or the NFL. Chose to come back to college, go to Iowa. Won 2 national championships at South Dakota State, thrown for over 10,000 yards, rushed for about 1,800. The man has like 130 total touchdowns in his career, 93 touchdowns against 20 interceptions. It's, again, thrown for 10,000 yards in 4 years. It's a pretty impressive resume. Won the Walter Payton Award, which is the FCS version of the Heisman, in 2023. Looked at the tape, looked at what some people have had to say about him. Our guy, Rob Donaldson, I follow him religiously. Did a nice film breakdown of what the pros and the cons are of Mark Gronowski. The way he described him, I really liked, was a lot of the physical tools of Anthony Richardson, but maybe not the arm strength of Anthony Richardson. Obviously different from a leadership, mental capability too. I think that's probably the biggest asset to me here with Mark Gronowski is I think the leadership aspect. Guy's just a winner, flat out winner. So I like this.
So you kind of had the lead there where it was either NFL or Iowa.
Yep.
Right. So deductive reasoning tells me he's coming to start.
Yeah.
He's coming to start. This isn't Hank Brown. This isn't Jackson Stratton. This isn't either of the Sullivans' job. I mean, maybe it's a competition. Maybe it's an open competition between Brendan Sullivan, Hank Brown, Gronowski.
Yeah.
I want to say Gronkowski for some reason, and I know there's a K, but it's just further on down the name. But so, the writing's on the wall, I think, for that he's coming to start. Otherwise, he would have just went to the NFL, right?
Yep.
I guess I don't know what he looks like as a prospect because I haven't watched a lot of FCS football lately. I mean, what did he pass for 2,500 yards this year? 2,800.
2,700, 23 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
And we're talking, what are we talking there? 14 games through the FCS playoffs?
Yeah, they didn't make the championship. They lost to North Dakota State.
The eventual champion.
The eventual champion.
You also made a comment that he's a winner. Winning hasn't been a problem at Iowa. If you hear Kirk Ferentz, press conferences in the last 4 or 5 years to remind us that this team still won 10 games last year, or the famous one, right? Obviously, they didn't win 10 games this year; they won 8. We didn't recruit this kid out of the transfer portal to win football games. I think we recruited this kid to be more balanced on offense.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a threat of a passing game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have more than a threat.
And I guess I just don't know what that looks like in Division I football, what that looks like in Big Ten football. I don't know because I haven't seen him play, Andrew. I haven't, to be fair.
Yeah, you haven't seen him play. I haven't. I won't sit here and say I've watched a lot of South Dakota State. I have gone back and watched some highlights, some South Dakota State game film. I've watched what other people have had to say about Mark Gronowski. Matt Miller of ESPN, formerly a Bleacher Report draft expert, put out a tweet that said that this is the best quarterback that Iowa's had in a long time. I firmly am of the belief that this guy is going to be the best we've had since Beathard. I
saw you post that on the socials. I saw you say that. I wanted to pump the brakes on it. On it just for the fact of the level of play. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get it. I mean,
O'Rourke played great at Indiana until he played a team that was worth a shit. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He looked great until he played Ohio State and ran into Buzzsaw. I want to see it. I want to see it at this level. I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
I like the years he's played as a starter. I like the fact that he's been the Walter Payton Player of the Year. I mean, national champion, 2-time national champion, good pedigree. But I want to see it at this level, I guess. So I want to pump the brakes, but I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer or be a devil's advocate either. Or like, man, like I get it. Like, we're looking for a quarterback. We landed one. But, like, why wasn't any other Division I football team? Why was it Iowa or NFL? Like, if he's an NFL prospect, why isn't any other Power 5 team, or why wasn't, I guess, not isn't now because we landed him. Why? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I know what you mean. What I know to be true is that he's really close with his family. He's from Naperville, Illinois. So being close to home and having the opportunity to be a starter in the Big Ten is something that he's always dreamed of. He's always dreamed of playing in the Big Ten Conference.
Okay.
I know for a fact that USC and Miami did try to get involved late in the game.
I know. I knew Miami was late in the game. I didn't know that, actually. Yep.
Yeah, USC and Miami tried to start a bidding war there. So I guess that, to me, that indicates that Lincoln Riley and Miami wanted him, and they just had Cam Ward. The other thing is Iowa recruited Mark Gronowski as a preferred walk-on out of high school. So the relationship was already there. It already existed. And Western Michigan recruited him when Tim Lester was the head coach at Western Michigan.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's okay.
So he visited both Iowa and Western Michigan as a high school senior or junior. I can't remember. And then Iowa chose Deuce Hogan over Mark Gronowski. So,
and where's Deuce playing now?
Yeah, nowhere. I don't know if Deuce is even in football.
And did you see that Marco Linus went to
Elon Musk picked up Marco Linus?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Elon's school. So I get what you're saying. But like USC or Miami would have loved this guy to be their starter. So
okay.
As far as the NFL draft goes, everything I saw that he was late day 3 or undrafted. Which at that point, if you make a roster as an undrafted free agent, the max you make is $785,000. And I think that's the consideration here is he's going to make more than that from Iowa's NIL.
Oh.
I don't know the official number, but he's going to get over $1 million.
Okay.
From Iowa's NIL, and then be in the same spot next year. If he plays poorly, he'll be on the undrafted late day 3. Or if he plays really well, he'll bump himself up into maybe day 2.
Yeah, so he has reasons to play in the Big Ten, right?
He has reasons to play in the Big Ten, and it keeps him close to home. His family was at all of his games.
Okay.
His family came from Naperville, Illinois to Brookings, South Dakota, or wherever South Dakota State went to go to his games. Like that's how close he is with his family.
Okay. So all right.
That's a big, and then having that prior relationship. So that's it. As far as him playing up, I get the concerns, but I would offer to you, I would look to the north, Minnesota, Max Brosmer.
I like that kid a lot.
Yeah. I do too. I think he's a little bit more refined as a passer than Mark Gronowski, but Gronowski brings more of the rushing element that Brosmer does not. But here's what Max Brosmer did: 2,800 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions in the Big Ten coming up from New Hampshire. So I think
that's not terrible.
Yeah, and I think if we got somewhere close to that Mark Gronowski ran for 400 yards and 10 touchdowns last year at South Dakota State. I think if he could give us maybe something on average of 40 rushing yards per game for the games that he's in and something around 2,500 yards, I think that's what we're looking for. And that touchdown and interception line, if he can come somewhere close to that, I think that's perfect. I don't think we're looking for him to win the Heisman Trophy or anything crazy like that. But he's also really accurate in short to intermediate throws, which is what the West Coast offense that Lester wants to run is all about.
Yep.
And he places it on guys where they can catch and run. They don't have to just catch and fall. They can catch and run. So yards after catch. Perfect.
Yards after catch would be great. Yes.
Yeah, yards after catch would be nice. So, and I know that he can hit the deep ball. I don't think it's his strong suit. He can hit it, but it's not. I also think he's going to take a lot of hits. He actually almost like relishes that kind of contact, kind of like Sullivan does. Sullivan runs on the outside. Gronowski will hit it in between the tackles.
What are we talking about? A body frame for this guy?
Yeah.
We have a guy that can take that in the Big Ten for 12 games. Can we?
6'3", 230. So he's not.
I think he can take it then. Okay.
He can, but he does have he needs to learn how to maybe not take as many hits because from what I've seen on film, he does take quite a few hits. And if you take those kinds of hits at the Big Ten level, I think we're still going to need Brendan Sullivan. So, and I do think Brendan Sullivan sticks around because I don't really know what his other options are. I mean, obviously he could transfer, but I think there might be a place for Brendan Sullivan in this offense still.
Back to the red zone packages and
the red zone packages. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Maybe.
Do we know anything about injury history with Gronowski?
Yeah, so you'll remember he played us in the 2022 7-3 game. He was the quarterback. And I've seen Iowa State fans making fun of his stat line saying, "Oh, he looks like an Iowa quarterback." What they won't tell you is it was his first game back off of an ACL injury.
Okay.
But he's now 2.5 years removed from that with no issues.
Okay.
So, there is an injury history there, but it's not the same injury history that we inherited with Cade McNamara.
Okay.
Also not the same player as Cade McNamara.
No.
Definitely more mobile. I'm not saying this guy is Lamar Jackson or anything crazy, but he's definitely more mobile. So,
okay. All right.
I would say mobility-wise, probably a little bit more mobile than Brendan Sullivan.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I mean, pretty comparable, maybe a little bit slight edge Gronowski.
Okay.
Kind of thing. And they're different too, right? He's a power runner.
Reason for optimism from Andrew Barber.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, the cons is that sometimes he's got that slow release. I've seen it on tape. There's kind of a extended delivery there.
Okay.
So that's maybe a concern, and he kind of hangs it up there a little bit. Trusts his receivers a lot to kind of make plays.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to go, but it'll be interesting. So I think there's definitely cons as well, but overall, I mean, I think this is the best guy since Beathard, for sure.
I like it.
So
we will see.
Yeah. Let's see. Couple other transfers that we picked up. Another South Dakota State kid on the defensive line, Bryce Hawthorne, freshman All-American for South Dakota State. He's got 3 years left, which is good.
Yeah.
He can hopefully be here for 3 years, and he's probably going to fit in right away. I don't know if he'll start right next to Graves, but if he doesn't start right next to Graves, he'll be the third defensive tackle.
Okay.
Behind Pittman and Graves. And Jonah Pace will probably come in as well at the defensive tackle, and they can flip him around, play on the edge, play however they want to do it. I trust Kelvin Bell, but now you've got 7 or 8 guys that you feel good about on the defensive line. Kind of like you had this past year. I mean, you've got Herket back. You lose Craig, you lose Black, you bring in Hawthorne and Pace to kind of replace Craig and Black in a way.
I tell you what, seeing his post game after the bowl, Deontay Craig, it brings the human element back into all of this of the blood, sweat, and tears that they've shed together as a team, especially that Phil Parker defense, how close they were. Yeah, I mean, now it's time to put it back together, right? It's going into spring ball, have some new faces.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens on that side of the ball too.
Yeah, so those are the major additions on defense, and then offensively still we might have a wide receiver coming.
Oh boy.
We'll see. Chattanooga's Sam Phillips visited Iowa, and there is a lot of speculation that he will inevitably pick Iowa. Maybe that happens as we're recording this. Who knows? He's visited Virginia Tech. Visited Iowa. Was going to go to USC, but then they got someone else and pulled the visit out from underneath them. He's kind of one of those shorter speed receivers that have excelled in Tim Lester offenses of the past. 5'9", speedy little guy. So I think he'd be a good add, someone that would figure into the rotation at wide receiver. We got to remember Terrence Smith, the true freshman, is coming.
Okay.
4-star wide receiver, 6'4", 225 as a true freshman. It's a pretty big-bodied kid.
For sure. Yeah, no doubt.
And a lot of people seem to think he could play right away.
So like opposite Gill?
Or opposite. I think
Is it safe to say Gill's number one going into spring?
Gill's our best wide receiver going into spring. I think, he's probably our wide receiver one, technically, if you want to label it that. I don't know if we have a true wide receiver one in the sense of the wide receiver, how people think of it.
Sure.
This offseason is going to be huge for Reese Vanderzee from that angle.
Man, he was so good in the non-con.
Yeah. He just wasn't physically prepared maybe for the Big Ten grind. I think a lot of defensive backs figured out if you get up there and jam him and all that kind of stuff, he'll work through some of that. Terrence Smith will have to work through the same thing. But I feel good about Iowa's wide receiver room. Don't you? Like, I feel like there's more depth than we've had in the past.
I think if you get this transfer kid from Chattanooga, I think that's a great room. I can't say great room. Great room for Iowa. How about that?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I feel confident because there's a lot of depth there. It's not like, I can't remember. 2022, it seemed like we had 4 scholarship receivers.
Yeah.
We're going to go into next year with like 10 and feel good about them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even mention a guy like Jarrett Bowie, who I thought flashed a little bit.
He did flash a little bit. Yeah, he did.
In the bowl game. I think Dayton Howard had a touchdown this year against Washington. Gill, we all know what he can do. We've seen Vanderzee, what he can do. Yeah, I think Seth Anderson's still on the team, even though he
was like your biggest, like, I don't know, like your biggest wild card. Like, man, just watch him,
Yeah, right. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in his final. I think this is his final year coming up.
Holy shit, we're already doing his final year?
Yeah, we are. We got him as a FCS transfer with 3 years.
Okay.
Sam Phillips, I would have to check, but I want to say he has 3 years too.
Okay.
So maybe 2. I could be wrong.
We could use a little Steve Smith slot guy.
Yeah, I think when you think of Tim Lester, you think Sky Moore. Like, this is, if Tim Lester wants this guy and he's a speedy short receiver, Tim Lester is obviously having visions of Sky Moore.
Okay.
And then a couple guys that we didn't mention as wide receivers, but they're kind of like in between. TJ Washington and
he had a pretty good bowl game.
Yeah, I liked him. He can play running back or wide receiver. They can put him all over the field. And they're going to do the same thing with Brevin Dahl out of ADM.
Okay.
That's Adel DeSoto Minburn, Iowa, for you people who don't know.
The Tigers.
Iowa Towns. Yeah, the Tigers. So Brevin Dahl is kind of the backup to TJ Washington in that role there. Caden Weechin. We didn't even mention Caden Weechin.
Coming back.
The best returner in the nation, who I think isn't on scholarship yet, but probably will be by next season. I'm going to guess they're going to find him scholarship.
That's unbelievable that he's not.
Yeah, completely unbelievable. So, Yeah. Anything else? I feel like I'm talking a lot here, Drew.
No, it's okay, man. you are deep in the transfer portal, my friend, and I appreciate you picking up my slack in my moving across the country escapades, man. No, that's great. I think it's great.
If I could get a counter of how many times I've refreshed Hawkeye Insider in the past 4 days, I mean, it's got to be in the thousands. It's got to be in the thousands. I think I'm the one guy keeping that site traffic alive. No, I'm not. There's a lot of people who keep that site going, but
somebody needs to create a website of David Eicholt's whereabouts.
Oh yeah, we're rewriting the narrative.
I know.
What happened when he was in state, and now Sam Phillips might happen while he was in state.
Yep. Chapter 2, baby.
We're rewriting the narrative here for David Eicholt. He can maybe stay in Iowa during big moments.
All right. I like it.
Yeah, we'll see. Basketball, huge win, huge comeback win. That's what I wanted to segue into because that was where the narrative started when basketball had a huge comeback and David Eicholt was out of state. David Eicholt's in-state basketball had a huge comeback as well. So maybe he can stay. Maybe we should talk a little bit more about that after a break. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, man.
Take a quick break, and we'll be back to talk a little bit of basketball.
Making great tasting bourbon requires the perfect combination of ingredients, conditions, and time. The longer it rests, the better it tastes. Revelton Distillery's new single barrel bourbon is made from 80% corn, sourced 100% from Iowa farmers. And unlike mass-produced bourbons, each barrel of Revelton's single barrel bourbon is unique, proofed on when it tastes best. As they like to say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And to ensure the highest standards of quality and flavor, owners Rob and Christy Taylor oversee the production and bottling. Every single barrel. Iowa born, Iowa aged, Iowa bottled. Try the new single barrel bourbon from Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com. Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing your home, or if it's simply time to renovate the one you're already living in, you need an experienced mortgage professional to help you analyze your financing options and to make sure the closing goes smoothly. And that's exactly what you get when you call Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. Kyle's experience and expertise, coupled with Wintrust's rates and programs, ensures you'll get the mortgage that's right for you. You may even qualify for down payment assistance. Before you reach out to a realtor, call Kyle and get pre-qualified, empowering you to start shopping for the home of your dreams. Call Kyle at 515-473-0546. Kyle Lehman, Wintrust Mortgage, 515-473-0546. In 2023, a crack Green Beret named Dan Douglas retired his military command and promptly escaped to a full-time career in real estate. Today, this man is wanted by home buyers and sellers who want to survive the process without spending a fortune. If you have a home to sell or want to buy one, maybe you can hire Dan Douglas at Green Beret Realty. You can find him at greenberetrealty.com. greenberetrealty.com.
Hey, welcome back. And as we mentioned, Iowa men's basketball picking up a win over Nebraska in overtime after being down 15 and coming all the way back at home. I watched the entire game. Drew, we kind of talked about it. I don't mean to call you out. I know you had to get to work. So
I went to bed, Andrew.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I started the Fire Fran hashtag, and I still might be on that bandwagon, but that was an electric second half, man.
Yeah, it was.
I think it had been referred to as the reverse Utah. I believe.
Yes. We're on the same wavelength. I was about to say you just pulled off the reverse Utah. That was a great second half from Peyton Sanford. Just overall great game from Josh Dix.
Oh yeah, he was
I
great.
had to throw out there that they can't stop our Dicks. I'm sorry. I love it so much.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, Dix.
It really is, man. I'm pulling up the stats kind of as we speak so I can get Josh Dix's stat line right. I know he had 31 points, I believe, here.
Can we just say why Peyton Sanford only took 2 shots in the first half?
Yeah, I don't.
0 for 2. That was it. That's the stat
I don't
line.
know. Yeah. So Josh Dix's stat line: 31 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block, 1 turnover. That is one of the most efficient stat lines for a guard in the Fran McCaffrey era for sure.
The turnover number is the biggest number of them all, I think. In my opinion. I mean, 1 turnover out of all that. I mean, that's excellent.
Yeah, and he played every single minute of the game.
Oh,
all 45.
Wow.
He did not rest at all. And that was another big storyline here as well, was Drew Thelwell, who had been starting and has played very, very well for Iowa in his 1 year as a transfer, who's our kind of our backup point guard to Brock Harding as well. Didn't play because he injured his heel in pregame warmups. That's why nobody knew about it until the game was going on. And then Bailey was put into the starting lineup. And that's why. Cooper Koch had to be out with an illness that he's battling through. So those are 2 rotational guys from what I would say is already a pretty short rotation. And it forced a guy like Josh Dix to play every single minute. And Peyton Sanford played 35 minutes. Freeman and Harding both played 39 minutes. Fran had to put guys in the game in the first half with 2 fouls, 2 of them. Hey, it worked out. Peyton Sanford and Brock Harding each had 2 fouls in the first half, and they each had to play in the first half again after having 2 fouls. Fran is notorious for not doing that ever.
Yep.
It's part of his philosophy there. Whether you agree with it or not, just part of his philosophy. So, yeah. Drew, anything else you've heard about the game or anything else really sticking out for you? I was going to go over the second half, overtime, and the game stuff.
So I mean, I'm disappointed in Owen Freeman.
Yeah.
Just generally speaking, his play has kind of been lacking. Points, rebounds, being the number 5 guy. I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, I guess I expected him to be, in the running for all Big Ten honors as a 5. Being in that 17, 18, and 8, 9 boards type of stat line. And I know it's not all about stat lines, right? It's not. It's about wins. I don't know if it's a regression per se. I don't know, right? Because I know going into this season, we were worried about him in foul trouble. I don't believe that was the case in this particular game.
Right.
I don't know. That's my biggest question mark of this whole roster, actually.
Yeah, I think he is. He's playing decently. I just think we expect more out of big men at Iowa after the Luka Garza, the Keegan Murray era.
Yeah.
But he is number 2 in points per game behind Peyton Sanford. And I'd like to see a little bit more physicality out of him. I think that's the big thing.
Okay.
I think that's maybe the more disappointing. I'm with you. It's a little bit disappointing to me as well because we had such high expectations. Yeah, I don't think he really embraces the physicality like we hoped he would do in his second season.
Yep.
He doesn't seem to want to mix it up all the time down there. Yeah, he's got to assert himself. So say whatever you want about Luka Garza or Adam Woodbury or whoever's played center for Iowa in the Fran McCaffrey era, but that's what those guys had, right? They weren't afraid to get in there and mix it up with the big boys on offense and defense.
That's right.
So we need to see that out of Owen Freeman going forward. Averaging 6 rebounds per game, I think we thought he'd be more like a 17-9 kind of guy.
Close to double-double, yeah.
Yeah, close to averaging a double-double with 17-9. He's there on the points. He's not there on the rebounds. But, yeah, I think he has room for improvement. I don't know what the NBA is going to think about him because they look at different things than what you and I do. They draft on potential, not on production in the NBA. That's all it is in the NBA. If you have young age and a lot of potential, they want you.
I mean, the Timberwolves took Anthony Edwards, number two overall?
Yeah, number one.
He was number one, wasn't he? That's right.
Yeah, he was number one.
And look what he's blossomed into, right? I love Ant. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, because he was really raw at Georgia, right? Freshman coming into the draft.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does Fran lack the ability of development per se, or like he's just getting these raw players in there, and are they really getting better as time goes on? Obviously Luka Garza has.
It's a case by case basis. I think he played a huge role in the Murray twins and Luka Garza, and I'll say Josh Dix. I'd say credit to Fran on that one, and probably more likely Matt Gatens. I think Matt Gatens has been huge for Josh Dix. But I'm sure there's plenty of other examples even going beyond that. I think development is pretty strong.
Okay.
If anything, I would say the recruiting on the front end, he's not always getting the most talented guys on that end. He swings for a lot of big fish, but ends up not hitting them.
Sure.
Because he's swinging for big fish, but he's really good at identifying guys, I would say, too.
Okay.
But I think that's picking up. We talked about last year's freshman class. The guys coming in as freshmen this year, I like. That kind of leads me into my next point. We got a surprise midseason transfer today from Miami, former four-star Isaiah Johnson Aragu. IJA is what we're going to call him on this show.
Okay.
It's going to be easier for Iowa fans to just call him IJA.
So did he get a free transfer because of the Larinaga reservation?
Larinaga, yep. Free transfer. Okay. He's already enrolled in classes at Iowa. He can be with the team. He can practice with the team. He can't play.
Okay.
So he will have 3 years of eligibility starting next season.
Okay.
Traore will be back next year. I love what Fran's doing. I know that Fran also went to Florida to get a 4-star small forward from Florida as well. So who was down to Iowa, and I can't remember who the other schools were involved, but Joshua Lewis is the name, and I'm really excited. I think he can play. He's a small forward probably, but he can play more of the shooting guard role.
Okay.
But a lot of explosiveness too. IJA has a lot of explosiveness too.
So like Tyler Cook?
Yeah, maybe, but maybe different than that because he's more of a wing.
Okay.
Tyler Cook's more of a post player. IJ and Lewis are both wing guys, and Traore. I mean, I would say like a more refined Seydou Traore is how I would define this guy.
Okay.
And his best attributes are defense and rebounding.
Oh, defense. We can use that.
Hey, same thing with this Lewis guy, defense and rebounding. Same thing with Tanjo, who came in this year, defense and rebounding. And then we've got two centers coming next year in Diakite and Briscoe, who are 6'11", and their best things, defense, rebounding, shot blocking. So Fran's not recruiting offensive first guys anymore.
That's
recruiting guys that he believes are great athletes with defense and rebounding as their main thing.
Okay.
So I think he believes, and I would say rightly, that he can figure out the offense. I never question Fran offenses. I don't think anybody ever questions a Fran McCaffrey offense.
No.
We only question the defense and the rebounding. So, and you got to think that next year we'll have Owen Freeman and maybe Dix back. I don't know. It depends on what the NBA says about those guys, to be honest.
I think Dix is too small for the NBA game, if I'm being honest.
At the 2 guard, 6'5" is a little bit short, maybe. Probably have to fit into the right system, but I like what he's kind of shown with that step back 3 that he's shown has been.
I guess
awesome.
I'm talking about the body.
Yeah, he's a shade under 200. Shade under 200.
He's a skinny mini.
I think he can get away with it. I think he can probably bulk up a little bit too. Just got to get on the right team. I definitely have seen taller, lankier dudes in the NBA.
That's true.
So we'll see.
Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think next year has a lot of potential now with all the guys that Fran's bringing in, and I do think that the transfer portal will be a huge consideration because we need a point guard to replace Thelwell and a center to back up Freeman.
All right.
So I don't know. But huge win for Iowa. We needed it for our NCAA tournament chances.
Got to 2-3 in the Big Ten, right?
2-2, I believe.
2-2. Yeah,
2-2. Looking to get over 500 on Saturday night. Indiana coming to town. Carver Hawkeye. We've had some interesting games with Mike Woodson in the Mike Woodson era of Indiana.
He's just a weird dude.
Yeah, and Indiana came into this season with a lot of high expectations. Haven't necessarily lived up to those expectations, but they're also kind of getting on a winning streak here coming into this game. And I think they've maybe figured out their lineup as well. Indiana, we talked about this before the podcast. You and I were talking a little bit, but Indiana has just a lot of big guys to sort out. They have Umar Ballo, who started his career at Gonzaga, went to Arizona, and now has transferred to Indiana. And Baco's back, and Malik Renew is back. I think they moved Malik Renew to the bench because for a while they were starting 7-foot Baco and then 2 6'10" guys.
Oh, jeez.
They were starting 3 guys 6'10" or above, and then they realized maybe we should put guards on the floor, and we should put one of our 6'10" guys on the bench. So they moved Renew to the bench, brought him off the bench, and they play. Mbaka kind of plays like a guard. So, and then they got Miles Rice from Washington State, who was the point guard that led Washington State to the second round of the NCAA tournament last year.
That's right.
So Miles Rice is the guy who kind of keys everything for them. So he's been good. Yeah, I am a little bit nervous because Indiana hits Iowa in their weak point, which is defensive rebounding. Kind of like we saw in that Wisconsin game where over and over and over again, Wisconsin was getting every offensive rebound. We saw it last night against Nebraska. I mean, we're giving up an offensive rebound on like 1 in every 3 shots. We're like 305th in defensive rebounding percentage
Oh boy.
in the country.
And there's only like 355.
Yeah, there's like 380 teams, 380 some teams. We're 305.
No.
That's not where you want to be in the Big Ten.
And that's just not Iowa either, right? Like this used to be a squad that prided themselves in rebounding, especially on the defensive glass.
Right.
So I mean,
it's never been quite this bad.
No.
So yeah, we really need Traore to really maybe emerge, or this is where not having a backup big for Freeman really hurts a lot. Or Freeman, like kind of like what we talked about. The Indiana is the kind of team where this can really, really hurt you.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I don't have a prediction. I'm gonna go ahead and say Iowa drops this one. Let's go 81-74.
Okay. At Saturday night at 7:00, I think on Fox. I think Iowa will go ahead and pick this one up. I do think they will pull it out. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be hotly contested like the Nebraska game was. I don't think they have a Bryce Williams there at Indiana. So I will take Iowa, and shooting well, I think we put 92 on Indiana. 92 to 81.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I like the 81 number for Indiana, but I think it's 92 to 81.
That's not the way that I thought that your prediction would go pre podcast. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we are not great defensively. Nebraska actually was a very good defense. For all the size that Indiana has, they haven't been able to put together a good defense, really. I say this, and then they're going to go bonkers on Saturday night, and they're going to go bonkers from 3, even though they're terrible at threes.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they shoot 32% as a team from 3. Good for 246th in the nation. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think that gives me some hope here, but I know that we're going to give up a lot of baskets in the paint. So that's why I think this is going to be a high scoring game again. And you can just book overs on Iowa men's basketball this year. Between the defense and the defensive rebounding struggles, a lot of overs going to be hit. Especially in Carver, where we traditionally shoot well. There's going to be a lot of overs. So, yeah, that's it. Women's basketball. How much of that game against Maryland did you watch?
Most of it, actually. We had the TV in here. We had the internet. We had just gotten it. Here, you want to come say hi, Maeve? Here's the star of the show, Maeve. There we go. I know. Watched most of it actually. The women cut into that lead late in the second half, where it seemed like they might have had a shot. And again, the turnover bug, that's the biggest thing, man. Like, I don't know. I didn't see the box score itself, but the amount of turnovers is just, it's maddening. And you could get away with that in the Caitlin Clark era because she could shoot her way out of that, or shoot the team's way out of that and will it to victory, right? I'll also say this. I think Brenda Frese is probably the most underrated coach in America. I like her a lot.
She's up there.
She's I think she's won more games against Iowa than she's lost in her career, actually, including during the Caitlin Clark era. I was at one of them, a huge blowout in the first Final Four run, actually. I think Brenda Frese has Iowa's number by and large, more times than not when you don't have 22 out there. I just don't think they have a killer shooter. Taylor McCabe, I thought, looked good again in this game. I still claim that she's the best shooter on the team, and I don't know if that's even close, if I'm being honest, at least from three. I don't know what her stat line was.
1 for 5 from 3.
Oh, well, she had a bad day. Caitlin Clark's had those too, especially against Maryland.
Yeah.
I have no opinion on this team anymore. And Hannah Stolke continues to put the ball on the floor like she's a 3.
Yeah,
that's maddening to me. Like, I don't know if they're just doing it for personal growth here or what, or like trying things out. Like, it's time to win ball games in the Big Ten now. It's time to do what you do best, and it's running up the court. She had several shots blocked at the rim. No ability to pump fake at the rim and draw fouls. I mean, she goes up on immediate reception of the ball instead of, let's just do one pump fake. Just one. Get some more fouls. You get, add 5-6 points to your stat line, I think. I don't know. Lucy Olson, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on her, I guess.
Well, we would have been screwed without her in this game, particularly. She went 4 for 7 from 3. By a lot of advanced metrics, definitely our best player in this one.
Okay. All right.
So
I need to get more into the metrics, man, because like I just don't. I think my problem is I continue, and the nation probably continues to think that this is the person replacing Caitlin Clark, and that's the bar, right? And I think I have a personal problem with that. Like that's just never going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody's replacing Caitlin Clark. Yeah.
No, I know that. I just.
Yeah.
I mean, she was the nation's second leading scorer last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess I expected that.
Right.
And that's not the case. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't want to write them off. I think they're still a tournament team. I just think Maryland is a potential Final Four team at this point. I think Sellers is a freaking baller, and I love Brenda Frese, man. Like, I think they have all the makings of being like this year's Iowa, I guess, per se.
I don't know if they're going to win the Big Ten, but they're one of the 3 teams that I think can win the Big Ten.
Who's the other 2? Michigan State?
Nope, USC and UCLA.
Okay. So you're not putting Michigan State in there yet?
I'm not putting Michigan State in there yet. I think it's a USC, UCLA, Maryland race.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned Sellers. I like her game. Schmeichel, the Rutgers transfer coming over, I think has been awesome.
Yeah, she's been great
for them. So I think we talked about it before. I know that there's lineup changes that have been hinted at now. I just saw that today. I don't know what the lineup changes are. I hope the lineup change is putting Stolke at the 5.
Please,
For
the love of God.
I've been begging for this basically all season.
Yeah.
I hope they finally do it. And I'm okay if you put Stremla or Guyton. I think Guyton's awesome. I love Aaliyah Guyton.
She's
She's
shoot.
the point guard of the future, no doubt. And she can shoot. Yeah. But I think there's another element to her game that will develop as kind of time goes on. So put O'Grady on the bench, put Stolke at the 5, bring Guyton in. Let's do this thing. I don't think you have a lot to lose. You're playing an Illinois team who I think is pretty good. They play Illinois on, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe that is. And yeah, Illinois is a decent team now. It's on the road. They're 11-4. They run a lot of players out there. They have 5 players in double digits, 1 and a 6 that's just a shade under double digits, and they full court press. So here's another team that full court presses. Here's another team on the road that full court presses. You struggled with it against Tennessee, Michigan State, and Penn State. And here's another opportunity for the Iowa women to show what they've learned, basically. And it calls for still get the 5, not being involved in the full court press scenario.
Yeah.
Let Lucy Olson and Guyton and the Folter, Feuerbach maybe, Stremlo, let them handle the press breaking. Let everybody else stay in the full front court.
Yeah, I think the key number is 12, and that's in regards to turnovers. 12 or less.
Where it's been, I think the key number is 15 for me. It's crazy, but yeah, against a team that full court presses, if you can turn the ball over less than 15 times, with what I've seen from Iowa this year, I think turning it over less than 15 times would equate to a win on the road against Illinois.
And I will predict that. I will predict a Hawkeye win tomorrow night. I don't know. Let's go 83-73.
Yeah, Illinois obviously wants to drive the scoring up. I don't think Iowa has a problem with that, even though the offense isn't what has been, obviously. I think they're going to score 87. Is it going to be like an 87-78 game? Maybe Iowa pulls away late. But I still think there's plenty of turnovers. If they get to the 15 turnover mark, or keep it under that, I think it's going to be a much wider margin than what you and I are predicting. But I'm not going to predict that they're going to do that. But that's where they got to be.
You still score 87 points committing 15 turnovers. That's wild to me.
We're fully capable of that.
I know they are.
Yeah. I still think, Jan Jensen's finding her way a little bit too. And the in-game stuff, it's so different going from assistant coach to head coach. So you got to give her a little grace, Hawk fans, because I've done that myself. I've been an assistant coach at the high school and the middle school level. And in certain scenarios, I've been allowed to act as the head coach temporarily in game. And it is so much different. Like, you think it's easy to remember timeouts and when to take them and when to foul and when not.
Yeah.
It's so different.
For sure.
Guys. It's not as easy as you think. So I have a deep appreciation for coaches who can figure it out. And I think Jan will. So
I do too.
Man, we talked about a lot. We went a little bit over an hour. We usually keep this right around an hour. You got anything else that we really didn't dive into?
I haven't followed wrestling, man, so I don't know what's going on there. But I'll get back on it next week. I promise. I will bring a wrestling report for the final cut. If you
yes, let's hit the wrestling report next week.
Yep.
I guess one of my friends who is an avid wrestling fan did mention to me that we had some wrestlers go to South Dakota State.
Oh.
I can't remember when that happened. I think we had a few guys transfer out. I don't know if it was anyone of no.
No, sure.
But I said, oh, that's a fair trade. We send them our wrestlers. They give us Mark Gronowski. It's great. So they get a few wrestlers. We get a quarterback. It's awesome. Everybody wins. All right. Well, we will leave you with that. We will be back next Thursday. Sorry for the late audible here, but we got to watch the college football playoffs. Oh, yeah. There we go. Some quick college football playoff predictions.
Yeah, it's an all Big Ten final.
I'm right there with you, and I think, ultimately Ohio State's going to win.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
But yeah, give me Ohio State, Penn State. I did think that we were going to have a Big Ten championship rematch. I thought Oregon was going to pull through.
And the trek that they would have had to make to win a national championship as the number 1 overall seed was completely unfair. Completely unfair.
That's why there's going to be changes to the playoff format even after this one try.
For sure.
Of the 12 team. They're gonna completely change the format on us next year.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're aligned on that. We'll be back next week, Thursday night at around 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you as always for listening. Drew, always good talking with you. Have a great night, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.